Good afternoon, and I apologize, I'm a little short, I don't know if you can see me, I'm right here. It's my pleasure to welcome Department of Labor Secretary Marty Walsh to the City of Irvine and Lakeview Senior Center. I would also like to welcome the National Domestic Workers Alliance and the Service Employees International Union to the Lakeview Senior Center. Lakeview Senior Center, which opened in 1994, is the largest of the 3 senior centers in the City of Irvine. The center provides a variety of resources to city's senior population, including nutritional services, outreach through the Teen Center for Senior Resources, and a diverse offering of wellness and educational programming. Lakeview serves as the city's meal production center for the Community Meal Program and Meals on Wheels combined. These programs served over 191,000 meals during the first year of the pandemic. All of these meals were prepared right here at the Lakeview Senior Center. The Keene Center for Senior Resources is one of our most utilized areas at Lakeview. The Keene Center offers support and assistance to help seniors and their families cope with the physical, emotional, and practical challenges of aging. The team at the Keene Center boasts an exceptional group of bilingual volunteers and staff who answer questions and provide referrals to an average of 11,000 participants per year. Programming at Lakeview includes a variety of classes to meet the needs of our diverse community. Favorite activities of our seniors include yoga, Zumba, floral design, and believe it or not, boxing. The center also features a computer lab, billiards room, and table tennis. I would also like to recognize my council colleague, Mike Carroll, who is here with me today, and we also have our State Senator, Dave Minn. And so once again, welcome to the City of Irvine, and thank you so much for choosing us today.
Thank you so much, Mayor Khan. Thank you, Councilmember Carroll. Really is an honor and a pleasure to be here in the beautiful city of Irvine. My name is April Verrett, and I am the president of SEIU Local 2015, our country's largest long-term care workers union, representing over 400,000 long-term care workers across the state of California. I also am an international vice president of our national union, and I am the chair of our union's National Home Care Council, which brings together 740,000 home care workers from across the country. I want to thank again the mayor, the council member, the entire City of Irvine community. Especially want to thank the Lakeview Senior Center. What an amazing facility you all have. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator Minn, for helping us land this location. I also, before we get started, want to thank our partners, the National Domestic Workers Alliance. We have been partnering with this amazing organization for years, and now we have come together to make sure we continue to build power and advocate for home care workers, for domestic workers, for all of the caregivers in our country that go unseen, unvalued far too much. We just heard Mayor Khan talk about the amazing services that were delivered here for seniors during the pandemic. I think we're in a watershed gut check moment as a state, as a country, when it comes to how are we going to care for the seniors, for those who live with disabilities, who are suffering from serious injury or illness that need to recover. And we saw in this pandemic, these individuals be the most impacted, right? Mortality rates amongst our seniors, I think, were unconscionable during this pandemic. And we have talked a lot about equity over the last 18 months. We've talked a lot about not going back to the status quo. Well, folks, we get to make a choice to move forward, to transform our country's long-term care system, to make sure it is one that meets the needs of those who need care and does not leave behind the caregivers and the workers who deliver that care. And so I'm really excited to be joined for this roundtable discussion by 4 amazing caregivers, workers who do the work of caring every single day for those who need the care, despite the impact that has on their own families. And of course, the amazing labor secretary, and he really is labor secretary, Marty Walsh. I've been an organizer for over 20 years now. I wear a lot of different hats, people give me a lot of titles, but at the end of the day, I'm a union organizer. That's what I wake up every single day determined to do, to build power, to empower workers, to show them the way to building a path to work collectively with their coworkers to fight for a better life. And I, in my career, have been blown away time and time again by the tenacity, the passion, the strategic thinking that I have shared with home care workers. They wake up every single day to do God's work, whether they are getting paid a living wage to do it, whether they have health insurance if they need it themselves. Most of the home care workers I know have no retirement to depend on when it's their time to be cared for. And now is the time in this country that home care workers have built a level of power. And we are not gonna we're not gonna move away. We're gonna stay in the front of the line. We're gonna continue to demand and push that this workforce is respected, is valued, is paid for the work that we do. And so let's get into the conversation. I could go on and on about this for a long time. But Secretary Walsh, I thought we could just start by having Leilani introduce herself, and we'll hear from the four workers, and then we'll turn to you. And just really want to have a conversation, right, about the moment and how can we change this long-term care system together. Leilani.
Good afternoon, my name is Leilani Reed, and I'm a home care worker here in Los Angeles County. And I've been a home care provider for about 15 years, and I currently care for my daughter and my father. Secretary Walsh, we need to invest in ensuring that there is access to care for our growing senior population and for people living with disabilities. One way to do that is to create pathways to higher wages and benefits for caregivers. For me, a pathway to $20, for example, would mean I wouldn't have to juggle payments and bills like I currently do. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Patricia Rios. I am a home care worker for more than 8 years. I care for my son with autism. I live in the city of Whittier. Secretary Walsh, yes, we're in the need to invest. Most important for better wages for us providers that care for our family members. Better health insurance, most important for all providers like me. And a union for all. Knowing that our union has our back helps home care workers to keep fighting for the respect, protection, and pay we deserve. Thank you very much.
My warmest greetings to you, Secretary Walsh, and good afternoon to everyone. I am Alan Gallion, a resident of Los Angeles, a home care worker since 2008, a co-caregiver to my 80-year-old mother at home, and a hands-on parent to my 5-year-old son. My membership at and with the Filipino Workers Center in Southern California, a National Domestic Workers Alliance affiliate, has been the glaring link to education on workers' rights for me, and has provided opportunities to develop skills in organizing grassroots workers in a unique participation to significant events such as this. I bring to this roundtable my own voice, raising concerns over A, working conditions of domestic workers, and B, long-term services and supports for aging individuals and people with disabilities. Working passionately as a caregiver for 13 years, I confess that prior ignorance and complacency were my roadblocks to a clear understanding of both justice in labor and justice in aging. I have come to maturity to know that there are solutions to the massive iniquities our care workers and multitudes of our elders and disabled experience every day. The quality of care that is available today will continue to suffer if we do not compel ourselves to organize and stand up for what is fair and what is just. The overall economic insecurities for us, home care workers, produced by receiving low wages, shortage or lack of benefits, such as paid time off, sick leave, overtime pay, and absence of contracts and viable retirement plans, are here to stay if we remain actionless, deaf, blind, and muted towards solutions. I am here today splicing my ideas and ideals as a care worker, as a father, as a son, and as a gentleman with reasons of relevancy, especially around the authority vested in you, Secretary Walsh, as we all try to connect the pieces in strengthening the move to place the lives of our dedicated labor force workers and the aging and vulnerable populace at the center of a strongly developing human infrastructure in America. Better care, better jobs. These are conversations I perceive as extremely hopeful lifelines for my own mother, who may benefit from this investment in Medicaid. It will be our purest joy to find peace of mind in being able to, one day, receive quality home and community-based services, care that is affordable, accessible, and equitable. That is why many of us will be rallying with you, April, and other coalitions on July 13th to further increase momentum in pushing for the passing of bills related to this. Our collective engagement shall be remembered as a declaration to the highest degree that care is a public good and that care is an infrastructure. Secretary Walsh, your very presence with us today is a magnifying reminder that to every problem there is a solution. Thank you as we continue to support your work as Labor Secretary of this country. And thank you for dropping in to listen to the voices of the grassroots who are just simply trying to contribute faithfully in eradicating the nagging issues of inequity in our society, especially in matters of labor and care in America. Maraming salamat po. May I graduate saying thank you with all due respects.
Good afternoon, Secretary Walsh, April, our colleagues in the labor movement and the domestic worker industry. The worker center I work for, the Filipino Worker Center, has a membership of 3,500 caregivers and a constituency of over 1 million Filipinos in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is the largest concentration of Filipino immigrants outside of the Philippines. I'm an immigrant of 15 years, a single mother, with 4 adopted children, 2 of them twin boys, one of whom is a special child. I, together with these children, have experienced the harsh impact of exclusion from labor laws and as a caregiver in the homes of 30 elderly patients. As a domestic care worker, I was paid an average of $4 per hour, working 24 hours a day with no benefits such as paid time off, sick leave, overtime pay, and no contract. I was also misclassified as an independent contractor by home care agencies. So I didn't earn any Social Security points for 6 years. As a result of that, now at the age of 68, I have no savings and retirement benefits other than the hope that with this investment in Medicaid, there may be a way to get care when I am older and get through the huge wait list of over 842,000 people. The last time I checked my retirement pay, it came up to approximately $800 a month, and my rental is already 80% of that. As an organizer of the Filipino Worker Center, an affiliate of the National Domestic Work Alliance, I see others who are older than me, are in the same boat of economic insecurity. One of them is Anna, not her middle name, 84-year-old member of our worker center, who worked as a caregiver for more than 20 years. Anna was recently diagnosed with fourth-stage liver cancer. Her only wish is to spend her final days in the Philippines. And our organization is currently supporting her to get help from the Philippine Consulate for financial support to purchase her one-way plane ticket, as she doesn't have the money to buy it. Beyond Anna, a study of 100 women caregivers of retirement age at our worker center confirmed the extent of the economic insecurity. No one wants to retire. We have no savings. Every day as an organizer, I see so many caregivers who want to be members of our organization. Because they want the supplemental life or accident insurance provided by the unions through the National Domestic Worker Alliance, the mighty unions. These are the very reasons why we want better care, better jobs to pass. Secretary Walsh, we thank you for this visit and for taking the time to listen to the innermost thoughts and feelings of us domestic workers, like me, who within their lifetime have served well and done the work that made other work in America possible. Your act of inclusivity and support to the important investments in the care infrastructure means a lot to us. It means treating domestic workers with dignity and respect. In the world's richest and most powerful country in the world, which is now home to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It just, as I was listening to the four workers in talk, it just dawned on me, this is almost the perfect representation of this workforce. This workforce across the country is overwhelmingly women, in the vast majority of which are people of color, and 1 in 3 are immigrants, right? This is literally the face of the workforce in this country. And we know that it is this workforce, these people, the communities that we represent, have been the most disproportionately impacted, not just in the last 18 months, right? Women, people of color, and immigrants in our economy and our country are those that suffer the most, time and time again. And so I just want to get into this conversation if we can, and start with the $400 billion investment in care that has been talked about so much, right? $400 billion specifically in home and community-based services that will expand access to care to millions of Americans that need it, and give workers a fighting chance to raise their pay, to have benefits, to have a pathway to a union. I believe we can do this. We can change communities by making these family-sustaining middle-class jobs. And so, Secretary, let's just start this conversation about what do you think of this investment? How can we work together to think about this workforce? I believe we can create 1 million new jobs, good family-sustaining jobs over the next 5 years.
Thank you, April. Let me just start by thanking you and SEIU for the great work you do here in California and around the country. I want to thank the workers that are here today, that are on this podium, to address some of the things you said in a minute. Thank you for being here and sharing your experience. I want to thank, give a shout out to the mayor for her. I've been with the mayor all day today. I want to thank her for her leadership. I want to thank the councilor and the senator who are here, the staff here at the center, particularly the folks with blue shirts out there. Thank you for what you did for Patrick Mills on Wheels in the back. And I want to thank you for that. It's great to see you. It's been great to watch you do great work on behalf of the LGBT community here at this time. The issues that you all brought up to me, I was thinking as you were talking, generally, if you were talking to a secretary of labor or an official, what they would say to you is that the pathway to higher wages is important. We're going to work on that. We're going to file a bill. We're going to file a bill on job training. We're going to file a bill to fix health insurance. We're going to work with you on that. We're going to file a bill to work on collective bargaining. We're going to file a bill to look at paid family leave. We're going to file a bill to union organize, and that's generally what people would say. In every single issue you brought up today, President Biden has already said, before you even talk about it, the importance of organizing, the importance of making investments in the cares economy, understanding, he understands, and Vice President Harris understands, that industry is predominantly women of color and immigrants that came to this country, and that you're severely underpaid, and in a lot of cases you're not respected by employers. And not understanding also that the people you take care of are almost vulnerable and our loved ones. And this last year, we improved it even more, where we had COVID outbreaks in nursing homes and facilities all over the country. You went to work every day with spotty PPE, if any PPE at the beginning, and you still took care of the loved ones in those facilities. So I want to say on behalf of President Biden himself, thank you for that. But the President's investment in the cares economy is a $400 billion investment in exactly the work you do. And that investment is for a lot of different things. Number one is to improve the quality of care that people receive in that industry. It's also an investment to make sure that people are working in that industry like you get paid with dignity and respect, and you can create a pathway in the middle class. Job training and opportunity. April just talked about 1 million jobs potentially in this industry. That's where there's another investment in this economy, in this package as well. About $240 billion for job training. Those are opportunities for us to train people, as well as train you and higher skills, so allow you the opportunity for upward mobility. So there's so much opportunity here. Also, the President wants in there a component of collective bargaining, people right to join unions if they choose to join a union. And that's another piece. There's another plan, another piece of this plan is paid family leave. Families that need time off for their sick home, personal sick time, birth of a child, taking care of a family member, domestic violence, and other issues that people encounter as the course of their career goes on. So you really don't have to, we don't have to convince the President on how to move this forward. Earlier today, I had a conference with Katie Porter, and we talked specifically, we talked about the infrastructure bill and all that stuff. It's good stuff, don't get me wrong. $1.2 trillion in roads and bridges, and that's great. But she focused to me today at lunch, and she's focused on the cares economy and creating an opportunity. How do we make sure that we make investments? This facility right here that we're in, run by the city, could benefit from the cares economy investment. And it's an investment. It's not an allocation. It's an investment in the future of this economy. So I'm excited to be able to be here sharing good news. That doesn't mean it passes. That means that we have a lot of work to do, and we have to continue to tell your story. We have to continue to talk to people. I'm here for a reason. I'm in this town for a reason. I'm here to talk about the American the Build Back Better agenda plan. It's keep changing names, so it's the cares economy name. Right? That's why I'm right now. But whatever it is, it's an investment. We need to get investment in. And it's a hell of a lot of money, and we do want it. So no, I look forward to this continued conversation. But the beauty about this is there's no convincing. But what we have to do is continue to talk to people about the importance of the industry and the impact we have on people, whether it's to take care of your parents or take care of my parents. It's really important to continue to make investments in this space.
So I just want to see if Leilani or Patty, do you all have any questions or anything you just want to ask of the Secretary or comments?
Feel free, don't be shy.
So, what are the chances of passing this bill?
That's a great question. So the chances of passing this bill, can you hear me on the back? All right, so the president
About 2 months ago, rolled out what was called the American Jobs Plan, and incorporated in that bill, not a bill, a plan, incorporated that plan with money for infrastructure, physical infrastructure in the country, as well as job training, workforce development, apprenticeships, and also $400 billion in the cares economy. And then a few weeks later, the president rolled out what was called the American Family Plan, which was the cares economy, child care, early child care, universal pre-kindergarten, free community college, and a whole host of other investments into the American worker. The reason why he did the plans wasn't in response to COVID-19. It It was about looking at America, like you think about, if you're thinking about your family, you're thinking about in a couple of years, in a few years, you want to have the ability to be able to save money and buy a house. So it's a long-term planning. So the president sat down over the last month with Republicans and Democrats, and they came up with an understanding, a framework to move the infrastructure, the physical infrastructure plan forward. And that's a $1.2 trillion investment in roads, bridges, clean drinking water, broadband access, electric grids, a whole bunch of different pieces that's important to move our country forward. And that's moving down through a legislative track. On the other track is the CARES Fund, and that's moving as well too. I'm hopeful that we continue to have momentum and move forward on these plans. I mean, everywhere I go, and in the last few weeks, I've been in Indiana, I've been in Pennsylvania a couple of times, I've been in Iowa, I've been here, I've been in Nevada, all over the country, and everywhere I go, people want both plans because it's a long-term investment. So the answer to your question is, I am extremely hopeful that as we continue to move down this path over the course of the next, over the course of the next several weeks and maybe a little longer than that we're going to see two tracks, two bills go in front of the United States Senate and the United States Congress that are going to be addressing all these infrastructure plans, both the human side of it and the physical side of it, the roads and bridges. It is the biggest opportunity since the New Deal, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president. It's the biggest opportunity, and what it does at the end of the day, it shows dignity and respect for workers like you. It shows dignity and respect for the people that you take care of. It shows dignity and respect for the American workforce. It gives us the opportunity to continue to lead the world, whether it's caregiving, whether it's in biotech, manufacturing, whatever it might be, it gives us that opportunity. And it's an investment in the future of America. And if we don't do it, then we're not going to go back to, we're not going to find a new normal after COVID-19. We're going to fall back. And the last thing I'll say on that as well is equity is a major component of what the president wants to do as well. The president's identified that communities of color in the immigrant community and women in particular have all been underpaid and underrepresented at too many tables around America. We have to change that. The unemployment rate came out last week. The unemployment rate roughly is 5.8%, 5.6% in the country. For the African American community, it's 9.2%. For the Latino community, it's 7.4%. That's not an equitable recovery. An equitable recovery would be if it was 5.4% for all people in America, not for certain people in America.
So I'm going to hand over the mic to you, Alan. Just another point that I want to raise, and I want to get to Alan's question first, is that this workforce is not a place that we also don't have equity is in our labor movement. And I know you know the labor movement well, right? We have a labor movement that has seen a decline, right? I think for lots of reasons, right? Over the last several decades, there's been an assault from the right on people and workers' rights to form a union. And that has affected women, it has affected people of color. And so I think the work that the president has done and that you are continuing to do on his behalf to make sure all workers have the right to form a union is extremely important. And it's going to mean that we have to innovate and we have to think about new ways to think about the union and new ways to invite workers into the union. And so the fact that that is a part of this plan, I think is terribly, terribly important and worth understanding.
You're right. As I pass the mic to Alan, one thing when you think about inequity in salary and wages, the one thing the union is very important for is equity in wages. So when you're in a certain category, you're in a certain collective bargaining agreement, and it doesn't matter whether you're a woman, person, or a woman of color, a white guy, a black person, the wages are set to the collective bargaining agreement, and that's important. That is probably one of the best ways we can actually combat, poor wages and poverty, quite honestly.
Thank you, sir. We care for the undocumented brothers and sisters in the United States. What is your take on this? You mentioned that there's economies like towards every person in the country. So what's your take on this?
Well, you also mentioned, Alan, about misclassification of employees. And a lot lot of that misclassification of employee comes from undocumented workers, because people are afraid to speak up. If they speak up, they get fired. Oftentimes, employers will report them to federal authorities and be concerned about it. The president filed legislation to have a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people in this country that are undocumented. We need to pass that legislation. What's unfortunate is historically, immigration legislation has always been a bipartisan solution. Democrats, Republicans have always historically come together and have always come figure it out. And they've always created pathways and they've always come back with tougher border protections and things like that. And for some reason right now in this country for the last 25 years, we haven't been able to get that agreement at the table. It's interesting because I get calls from congressional folks and senators. I got calls from congressional folks and senators about a month ago about the H-2B visa program, which would allow people to come into America. These are temporary workers for 6 months from Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. And I'm getting calls on both sides now for that. And we need these workers in America. Yet on the other side, we have workers in America right now that are undocumented. If we have a pathway for citizenship, many of those workers, as you know, are paying taxes. Many of those workers have children who are in the country. Many of those children own homes. Many of those people own homes. So there's a lot of opportunity. So my take on it is we need to do a bill sooner rather than later. And hopefully that, I think the president has laid out some priorities. And we've been a lot of first priority, but right now it's about the infrastructure, human and physical. And then after that, we'll move to the next step.
Speaking of bipartisanship, poll after poll shows that this is not a red issue or a blue issue. That across party lines, Americans all over the country, state after state, view this infrastructure investment as needed, right? I've seen some polls in which 87% of people polled say, yeah, I like that idea. 67% thinks that it should be a priority. And so I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are, knowing that the populace thinks that this is a worthy investment. How do we break through some of the noise that gets in the way of getting things done?
That's a great question. I think that noise is being broken through right now. A couple of examples. One is when the president got elected, he stood at the podium, and what he said was he's president of the United States of America. He's a Democrat, but now he represents all people in America. And I think that that's a very important message to understand that the president represents Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, progressives, and everybody in between. As Secretary of Labor, I represent everyone in the country. I don't ask any of you, Republican or Democrat, we represent everyone in the country. I think that's key. The president has spent a lot of his own political capital, if you will, on coming up with a bipartisan agreement on infrastructure. Where yesterday, the AFL-CIO, the largest umbrella organization for unions, and the National Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable all signed a letter to support this infrastructure package, the physical infrastructure, the construction infrastructure package as well. So we're seeing that break down, but I think we have to continue to break down those barriers and continue to stop playing party politics, because the only people that lose in party politics is cities and towns all across America. I spent 7 years in the mayor of the city of Boston. I spent 16 years in the legislature. Those party politics, there's time to play party politics during election time, but when the election's over, it's time to work, roll the city and work together. The voters vote, you vote somebody in, you vote Democrats, you vote Republicans, and we need to work together in a better way.
Absolutely. I just want to, if someone can give me a time check, I can sit here and talk all day. And I want to make sure we leave enough time for a few photo ops, so about 10 minutes. Great. So I just want to make sure does any of the workers have any other questions or comments? Like, I really just want this to be a conversation. You want to listen to me and Marty talking. Sorry. Secretary Walsh. And it's not just Marty, it's mine. So I just want to thank Pat. Oh, please go ahead, Pat.
So more of a question is like, I hear you and I hear like what you said, no need convincing like the President Biden, because all these needs are, he's thinking about all the needs, and it's just more like a home care worker, like a parent to a disabled son. It's like more like, I need to see, that there's coming a difference, that we are going, for a path for, like I said, wages increase, the health insurance, that's the most important for us, and the retirement. So it's like, I could hear it, but I want to see like more of it, or I want to see that, yeah, we're getting to that path, right? So it's more like that, I think.
No, you're absolutely right, Patricia, and I'll tell you, the president has the cabinet himself, vice president all over the country. In the next week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm going to be going to 4 or 5 different states to talk about and push this bill. So I think we see the end coming, and right now it looks good. That doesn't mean that something's not going to happen tomorrow and all of a sudden it's on the table, but I just think the pandemic put a concern for everyone, every elected official in this country, understanding exactly what the shortfalls were in the communities. I think that, in all due respect, the mayor stepped up in a big way, and they really did a lot of this work on their own, the cities on their own, without real strong support from the state and federal government. And I think that money did come eventually, there's no get me wrong there, but I think that we have to continue to build that infrastructure in our country. And I would love to stand here and say, tomorrow the vote's going to happen, and on Sunday the president's going to sign the bill. I'm hoping that day's coming soon, but we still have work to do. It's a lot of investment, and disagreements on how to pay for it. I didn't mention that at all, but the president has been very clear that anyone who earns under $400,000 per year will not be paying for this package. He's looking at the largest corporations in this country to pay for this. And again, some businesses are concerned about paying for it, but this benefits the business. New roads, new bridges, better train connections, having cares economy that their employees can, in themselves can have great care. So I'm hopeful that next time I see you, hopefully in the next few months I'm here, and we can talk about what a great win it was for the American people, quite honestly.
So I want to claim the victory, and Secretary Walsh, when you come back, we won't just be talking about, how do we get this passed, but we'll be talking about how do we make an investment, especially right in training. I hear from workers all of the time, right, about how they want to be trained to be better care providers. And so I just don't know if you have a few thoughts about training and education for this workforce.
Yeah, the Department of Labor has been responsible forever, and for distributing workforce development money, job training money. This investment in this Build Back Better agenda, care infrastructure is something that we haven't seen before. So there's an opportunity for major investments, but I also think there's opportunity for major looking at the programs and how do we make those investments more targeted? How do we target those investments so that we're just not training people for jobs, but we're training people for a career, and at the end of the training, there's a job that we're doing for them. And I think we have to do more of that. I've done some of that as mayor. I've done mostly as mayor. I've done it much as a state representative. And I've created a few programs that at the end of the training, you've got a job. That's the biggest impact we can make in people's life. And also in your industry, you see it now, shortages in your industry. People not coming back to work, people getting different careers, people moving on, saving childcare, people not coming back to the childcare industries. So there's a real need for training of you, meaning your industry. And there's also needs to be an opportunity for you for upward mobility. So not only can you train, but you might have an opportunity to move yourself up, whether it's in the organization or into a higher skill job. So there's so much opportunity here. And April is, I just spoke with April, the important piece here is once this passes, is making sure that we spend the money correctly and we make the right targeted investments. And then that's also the place where we tackle equity. That's where we tackle equity. That's what we find once and for all, trying to make a difference in the outcomes of people of color and immigrants and women. So
I just want to say, if we move to close, because I promise I'm going to get you out of here on time with pictures taken. As a Black African American, a descendant of slaves, to be a part of a movement of millions of women, I know I stand on the shoulders of those who have come before me. I stand up with women who do the work that slave women once did in this country. That in the 1940s, when the National Labor Relations Act was written, Black women who did this work, domestic workers, were intentionally left out of this country's labor laws. right? We are not just making an investment in care for this workforce. With this investment, with our work and our movement, we are beginning to dismantle systemic and structural inequities and racism that this country was built upon. And that is important for us to know. This work that we do is amazingly important for the people that we care for the workers that give the work, but for the future of a country that once and for all begins to move past all of the wounds of our past to build a better future together. And so I'm proud to do this work with all of you all. On behalf of the 740,000 home care workers and SEIU nationally, and on behalf of the mighty NEWA, that we are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with Secretary Walsh. Thank you. We are going to win this historic investment in care. Please join us across the country and here in Los Angeles and up in Oakland on July 13th as we rally and make sure our voices are heard to say care is essential. We're going to be rallying for jobs, rallying for care, rallying for justice. Thank all of you all for joining us.